How's it going, everybody?
It was the final pitch to the lunchtime crowd as NDP leader Jagmeet Singh strolled through an Asian mall in Burnaby South.
You speak Mandarin or Cantonese?
Cantonese.
And we want to make sure that we can communicate with people in the languages that they're most comfortable in. So we've got a great team of folks that speak all sorts of different languages.
And that's particularly important given the makeup of this community. The riding of Burnaby South is incredibly diverse. More than half of those who live here were born outside of Canada, and about a third either speak Mandarin or Cantonese as their first language. While the area's diversity is celebrated, trying to make race an election issue was not. In January, the Liberal candidate, Karen Wang, was forced to step aside after singling out Singh's ethnicity and urging people to vote for her because she was the only Chinese candidate. Longtime Burnaby resident and four-term provincial MLA Richard Lee stepped in.
Hi, how are you?
As the new Liberal candidate.
A very positive campaign. I look forward to have a positive result tomorrow.
There are 6 candidates in the field. However, this is largely seen as a two-way race between the NDP and the Liberals. The New Democrats won the riding in 2015, but only by about 550 votes.
There's a lot of sort of newer immigrants there.
Sanjay Jaram teaches political science and predicts that for a by-election, the voter turnout could be quite high.
I suspect that it'll either stay close or we might actually see Jagmeet Singh pull away with a comfortable victory. Why I say that is because I think the amount of effort and ground game that the NDP has put into this riding, if it doesn't pay off, it's a real problem for the party.
And they will find out tomorrow night after the polls close at 7 p.m. local. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Burnaby.
Now, as you heard, the pressure on Jagmeet Singh is intense. Rarely are by-elections so critical. And as Hannah Thibodeau points out, it's not just the uncertainty of which way the vote will go, there's also the shadow of his predecessor.
Jagmeet Singh and his team have been a constant presence in Burnaby South.
Hi there, sir. How you doing?
Knocking on more than 30,000 doors since August. In a campaign, Singh must know he has to win.
Well, my name is Jagmeet Singh. I'm the leader of the NDP.
Lose, and the pressure to resign will be intense, maybe inescapable.
He absolutely must do well, win that seat, because if he doesn't, if he happens to lose, I don't see how he can stay on as leader.
With so much riding on it, NDP MPs are confident.
We're on the ground now in Burnaby, especially things are good, so I'm not too stressed about this one.
We will certainly be winning in Burnaby. We have a tight race in Outremont, but we have a great candidate.
Outremont? There's less optimism the party will keep former leader Tom Mulcair's seat. In fact, some are already putting a spin on losing it.
A new generational leader comes up at the Burnaby by-election while we lose the riding of the former leader. So it's energizing. I think people will like it like that, and people can't wait to see Jagmeet in action in the House.
But others see a bad omen ahead of October's general election.
If you combine a loss in Outremont with the recent results in other by-elections that happened in Quebec recently, with the current polling, the prospects of NDP MPs returning to Parliament from Quebec en masse are very slim.
Just days ago, 2 Quebec MPs joined a long list of NDP caucus members who will not run again. So a win in Outremont matters.
But if they're not able to show that they're actually able to win, to get support in the province, are they going to have good candidates? Are they going to be able to make the case that they are the ones who can represent Quebecers in the House of Commons?
Even if the NDP lose Mulcair's seat, the party needs to come in a close second in order to remain competitive in a province that once propelled it into official opposition status just under a decade ago, and where it will have to win seats in the next election in order to remain a national party. Hannah Thibodeau, CBC News, Ottawa.
You heard a little of Eric's analysis and Hannah's story, but there's so much more to be said about the implications tomorrow's 3 votes have for October's general election. Here's Eric with what to watch for.
The Liberals are really counting on Quebec for their re-election in the fall. They want to make a lot of seat gains, particularly at the expense of the New Democrats. And Outremont would be one of those ridings that would be very high on the list of pickups from the NDP. So while we're expecting that the Liberals should be able to take this riding, it's really about whether they do it in a strong fashion, which would give some suggestion that they can win other seats from the party throughout the province, The Liberals are really banking on making some gains at the expense of the NDP in Quebec. The New Democrats won 16 seats there in the last election, and their polls suggest that they might lose all of them. So for the Liberals, it's really important because they're expected to lose some seats in Atlantic Canada, in Ontario, and in the West. So they're hoping to make up for those losses with gains in Quebec. And Outremont would be one of those seats that they would have high on their list. The GTA decides pretty much every federal election in Canada, and in the last election it voted en masse for the Liberals. So the Conservatives are looking to swing that back over to their side. York-Simcoe is a safe riding for the Conservatives, so it isn't a question of whether they'll win or lose it. It's about how much support that they will have. And the thing to watch is the newly formed People's Party. If we see their support is quite low, it might suggest Maxime Bernier isn't going to have a big impact and won't complicate things for Andrew Scheer too much. But if instead we see that the People's Party is able to get 5, 6, 7 points in what is a strong Conservative riding, then Maxime Bernier's party could play a spoiler role and make it difficult for Andrew Scheer to pick up the seats he needs to defeat Justin Trudeau. If the Liberals are able to hold on to some of these GTA seats because of Maxime Bernier, it makes it all the more easier for them to secure re-election in the fall. Since the SNC-Lavalin affair broke, we have seen an impact on Liberal support in the polls. So we'll be watching to see if the results for the Liberals in all 3 of these ridings are lower than expected. If they don't have strong numbers, particularly in Outremont, it might be a suggestion that this is sagging Liberal support and going to have an impact going forward. But we should remember as well that SNC-Lavalin is playing out differently in Quebec than it is in the rest of the country. So what we see in Outremont, what we see in the other seats might be different depending on how this is playing out between voters in Quebec and in the rest of Canada.